You talked about making a change in the starting lineup, and I was wondering if it's Dizzy that you were talking about, and even whether it is or isn't, just what do you see he needs to do to kind of get his game back?
Yeah, I mean, I think, with regards to the starting lineup, I think anytime, that you've lost a game, you got to always try to reevaluate, reassess where your lineup, looks like. And then there's also, if you don't have a set lineup that you're, like we were in a groove for a while, having won those games, game after game after game. And that lineup had developed some chemistry and right now we might be a game by game, you know, different lineup based on matchups and so on and so forth. And then with Desi, it's just, I think it's confidence. It's, if he's not getting, if he's not knocking down a shot, it's, getting a steal or, coming up with an energy play. It's not just one particular player, it's everybody. It's like, if you go down the floor and you don't get, a shot after two or three trips up the floor, you got to go create something on your own, whether it's, like I said, a steal or a defensive rebound and you bust out, or you run the wing really hard and get a open shot in transition or an open layup in transition. So, I think the biggest thing across the board just with our players is consistency. Knowing what you're going to get. Everybody has good games, everybody has bad games, but can you not have extreme highs and extreme lows across the board for our players? Will make our team better with consistency.
Since he was kind of your sixth man a lot of times last year, could he kind of interchange with Noda in that kind of deal?
Right now, Nate, we didn't have everybody at practice yesterday. I'm not sure who we start, here in a little bit. I don't know who's going to be at practice, who's going to be available. So I'm not going to speculate on what we're doing or who's going to start because, like I said, we didn't have everybody at practice yesterday. I'm not going to get into who was or wasn't. We'll make the starting lineup. I'm not going to speculate between two guards on who might and who might not. We'll just kind of, see who's available today and go through matchups and talk to the players about matchups, because I'm a big believer in asking the guys who they feel comfortable guarding once they've watched them on video. So, what I will tell you, which is what I've told you guys, after the last game, is there could be a change in the starting lineup.
Thank you.
Nikki.
Yeah, Coach Muss, with Jalen being one of your three seniors and Justin out and Vance, being inconsistent, how happy are you with what Tate has brought to your team? And is he satisfying the expectations you had for him?
Yeah, I think so, Nikki. Jalen's like, he's great in the locker room, pregame, postgame, halftime. He's a really good voice for us. I thought he was really vocal yesterday when we got together. But yeah, then on the floor from a defensive standpoint, it's from a coaching staff perspective, when you're able to kind of have a guy guard either the point guard, the off guard, or the small forward, much like we did last year with Jimmy. We're not worried about Jalen being too small to guard somebody at the 2 or the 3 spot. And that's a real luxury. And then, I think he's like, I kind of said before we played any games, I felt like he was going to be a guy that was underrated shooting because he spent so much time shooting the basketball in the off season. But yes, he's been great, Nikki, on kind of both sides of the ball.
Bob.
Hey, Eric, how you doing? You said after the Auburn game that looking at the way the schedule laid out, the first part, that was, almost a must win. And now after a couple of tough losses and with Alabama and LSU on the road coming up, and does this have another kind of must win feel to it, even though it's still early in the season?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell the team, pregame, or the day before what are must and what aren't must wins. This is an important game for us because it's a home game, Bob. And we do have two really challenging games coming up. But Georgia is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated teams. I think that Coach Crean's done an incredible job with this team. They have an identity. They play really fast. They do a great job offensive rebounding. They got a lot of experience. Justin Kier, a grad transfer. Horn at the 4 spot, number 24, a grad transfer. Wheeler, a really good freshman year, who's now done a great job being the captain from a transition offensive standpoint. Kamara, number 10, presents problems because he runs the floor so well. And we saw it. We had a lot of time after the last game in the locker room, so we were able to watch some of the LSU Georgia game, and that thing obviously went, overtime, and they played LSU great. Either team has to lose, but Georgia's a really, really good basketball team.
And you alluded to you had a little extra time there in Knoxville. I know you're an early riser. Getting home at say 4 a.m. How much sleep did you get, and how does that kind of mess with your body clock, I guess?
Yeah, when we lose, I don't sleep. Anyhow, I forget what those little gummies are called.
Pills? I don't know.
It starts with the M. Melatonin.
Yeah, melatonin.
Yeah, usually Danielle gives me like 2 of those. When I got home, there was about 9 of them sitting on the counter. I didn't take any of those gummies. I just sat and stared at the stat sheet and waited for Mariah to get up to go to school, and gave her a hug and started the day off. So I didn't get much sleep at all, but that was not a fun travel night.
And KK, his foot, you mentioned the other night, he said it'd been bugging him going back, to red, white. How's he doing?
Yeah, I haven't talked to, to the training staff yet. Yesterday he got x-rayed. There was nothing on the x-ray. He will have an MRI today, and then, there's a look at that and try to determine, what the next course of action is.
Okay, I got a couple more, but I'll turn it back to Mike. But thanks.
Scotty.
Hey, Coach, I think you said in the preseason that you wanted JD to be a little bit more engaged defensively on a consistent basis. Have you seen him maybe take a step forward there, or what's just been your assessment of his play on that end?
Yeah, Scotty, we knew great one-on-one player. Basically played the off guard his whole life. He kind of slides over to play some point for us when Jalen needs to take a little bit of a break. And we knew it was going to be a work in progress with JD as a point guard, because he by nature is a scoring guard. I thought last game was his best game. I mean, he and I sat down and we talked about shot selection, and we talked about, here are some potential reads when you draw a second and third driving to your right hand, that corner spray out with your right hand is a great pass. And if you're driving the ball to your left, you got to work on maybe a left-hand hook pass to Connor. And so we talked about different angles and different reads on passing, both in pick and roll situations. And he's got to continue to evolve as a reader with the ball in his hands and try to, not pick up what that defensive scheme is looking like. You got to kind of read the rotations. The second part of that is when you're coming off the bench, it gives you a great opportunity. At least it should, that you're sitting there going, all right, we just ran a middle pick and roll and they hard hedged. So what's my reads when I go in the game? That thought process, I think, is a continual evolving process for somebody that maybe hasn't played that position his whole life.
Do you have any thoughts on him defensively, like steals? I mean, I think he's blocked a few shots as a 6'1" guy, pretty good deflections guy too.
Yeah, great anticipation. I would like him to get a lot lower defensively. I think he could be much more of a defensive problem for opponents. He is a problem for him jumping in passing lanes and so on and so forth. But we want him to continue to get better. I mean, that's a point of emphasis because I think because he's got, he's a great reader on defense, on passing angles, and he's got long arms. He's got good anticipation. And I think he should aspire to be, an even better defender than maybe what he's shown at times, Scotty. But yeah, he can block shots at 6'1" and really good getting his hands on balls.
Curtis.
Hey, Coach, obviously Georgia at the forefront, but you do have a string of games here, it looks like, with a team that has some forwards that are just more athletic and maybe fast as opposed to the traditional bigs, with the emergence of Jalen Williams and his role, and then also Vance Jackson kind of breaking out the other night. Do you feel a little bit more comfortable about how the team can handle that without Justin Smith?
Yeah, Justin's, he's the perfect guy to play guys that are those hybrid. Vance had a great game the other night against an awesome front line of Tennessee. And I thought Jalen came in and played with great energy as well, and played really well. So, yeah, we certainly, I think, Curtis, we need both those guys. While Justin's out, we need those guys to really step up. And, if we want to play a little smaller, maybe Jalen plays some center when Connor's not in, and Vance can obviously play the 4. And we played Vance at some 5 as well. So, we do have some options, I think. When Vance is out there, we become a team that has 5 shooters on the floor, which certainly helps space the floor for our dribble drive guys as well.
Coach, you kind of mentioned that Georgia likes to play really fast. What would you say are your kind of keys or points of emphasis with the team this week, getting ready for the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I think one, you got to get back in transition. You got to keep them off the offensive rebounds, boards. You can't give Horn or Kyer, number 24, number 5, any open 3 balls. Wheeler, number 2 at the point, can also make a 3. Kamara is as good of athlete and runner of the floor in transition at the 5 spot. Number 10, and then number 14, they're off. They're small forward, does a great job crashing the offensive glass. He's a really, really good cutter. So I think those are some of the things that we're trying, to emphasize, transition defense, defensive blockouts, taking care of the ball. They're a really high steal team as well.
Bob.
Eric, I know 2 games in a big streak, but you guys had won 9 in a row, played really well, and had a rough game against Missouri, played pretty well against Tennessee. But kind of what's the mindset? What's your mindset? What's the team's mindset with having your first, back-to-back losses of the year?
Yeah, I think that, when you get into league play and basically it's across the board, I thought we had without Justin Smith, I thought we had an opportunity to win the game against Tennessee. And they were coming off a loss. So I didn't feel like our team walked into, Tennessee and felt anything other than we're going to go try to win the game. I thought they competed like that. I don't see that being any different. I don't think we're fragile or anything like that. I think anytime you lose, you might lose a little bravado or whatever, but every game takes on its own identity, its own theme. Georgia lost a tough game at LSU. They're going to be ready to play. I know their head coach's competitive nature. He's a workaholic. And his team takes on his personality. Like this is going to be 2 really, really hard playing teams on Saturday is what I hope, although we have not played well in our 2 early Saturday games. That's got to change.
And then this will be your 3rd game without Justin. I'm sure you can't wait to have him back. But do you feel like you guys are sort of adjusting to not the more you play without him, the more you're getting, better without playing without him, I guess.
Yeah, and just about the time I'll have it figured out, he'll come back. That's, I'm a slow learner on this, but I think we're getting better, Bob. I really do. I mean, I think that, Vance, it's important that Vance plays with great consistency. It's important, that the guys that are playing substantial minutes, that they play with consistency so that we can form a rotation. When you have inconsistent play out on the floor, you're going to have some inconsistent rotations. And I would much prefer to know what I'm getting from a player, than we've had it of late. We've had some great games, not so great. Just give me something in the middle would be really nice.
And then I guess Mizzou had to postpone their game with LSU, and Carolina had to postpone their game with Ole Miss. They may have LSU play Ole Miss. I don't know, but have you gotten any indication from Georgia that they're okay and they'll be able to play? Has there been any word from the SEC that this game's iffy or anything?
I assume we're playing. I mean, I'm getting ready to go. I mean, I missed a lot of TV shows with my wife the last 24 hours. I hope that we're playing the game because I've been watching Georgia, and I don't know why we wouldn't, Bob. I mean, I just assume we are.
Right. Well, I just meant you. I think if there was some issue, the SEC or Georgia would let you know by now. I just was curious about that.
Well, I do think, Bob, along those lines. I mean, you just never know because it depends. Like if we tested yesterday and we get our results back this morning, everything's great on our end. I don't know. I never know when our opposing team is doing their COVID test. And so sometimes you might do it the day before you leave on a trip and get it that day. I think that's why we've seen, some games canceled. I mean, shoot, Curry got pulled last night during the game in an NBA game, because the test results came back in game. So I think it's just, hey man, it's the way you just kind of roll with what you roll with.
But you guys got your test results back this morning, you said, and everything's good? Okay. Sounds good, man.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Nikki, I need one of those hats. It's getting cold out.
It's nice. It's even insulated.
I like that. That's a good